Hi, everyone. How are you today? My name is Ahmed. I'm assistant professor at the University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire. I study bug bounty programs, and I've been studying bug bounty phenomena for the last 4 years. I think we do bug bounty a lot. We have been doing bug bounty. We have been, as a hacker, we have been hacking on bug bounty programs. As organizations, we offer bug bounty programs. We have platforms. But in the end, we don't know much in detail this phenomena. And I study this phenomena as a science. I want to make it what exactly is the theory behind this phenomena. What are the things we should know which is generalized, which is always true about bug bounty? And this talk is on bug bounty. And fundamental question I'm trying to understand or ask you guys and try to answer this question that how does disclosure of vulnerabilities which are already patched by a firm on a bug bounty platform or program, how does it affect the hacker success in finding new bugs? There can be a possibility that it can increase their participation and success in the same program, or it can negatively affect their success, chances of success in finding new bugs. Hacker participation is one of the key questions in this area. And a lot of time as a professor, as a person who studied this as a science, try to understand what are the factors which can affect, in general, hackers' activities, their behavior. One theory is that maybe offer more bugs, maybe offer more bounty can increase their participation and maybe make them work harder, and then it will increase more success. That can be counterintuitive. That may not benefit because you cannot just keep offering the money. And it may signal a negative side. And also, there's one more theory that offer more scopes. You cannot just keep increasing scopes. There's a limit to it. So this talk is on this disclosure phenomena in bug bounty. I'll ask two questions to all the firms and hackers. First question to an organization which run bug bounty program, would you be interested in publicly disclosing patched vulnerability bugs which are already patched a long time ago? Would you like to disclose them publicly for everyone to see it? And hackers, would you be interested in working with those firms who discloses a lot, as compared to someone who does not disclose? These are two platforms, HackerOne, BugCrowd. These are one of the two leading platforms in this area. On the left side, there is Hacktivity page of HackerOne. You can see this is Hacktivity page. You can see previous bugs which are closed and disclosed. So some of the closed bugs, you can just see the hacker name, you can see the bounty amount, you can see the program where it was closed. And some other firms publicly discloses critical bugs. Critical, non-critical, all kinds of bugs. Some of them they disclose, some of them they don't. BugCrowd does the same thing. They also have a page called CrowdStream. Sorry. And on the CrowdStream, they discloses, people can disclose, firms can disclose their previous bugs. Now, when hackers see these pages and they try to learn, this is common understanding that hackers usually go on previous bugs and they learn from the report, they take a look at them. And my question is, how does it affect their behavior? How does it affect this perception? So my question is, disclosure of patch vulnerability reports, does it affect the discovery of new bugs in the same program, the one which discloses? Does it increase the success, or does it help the hackers in finding new bugs? And if it has an effect, what kind of disclosures have an effect on hacker success and new discoveries? And what type of hackers are mostly affected? In general, we can say that there can be two possibilities. There can be a positive effect of disclosure on hackers' success in finding new bugs, or there can be a negative effect of disclosure on hacker success in finding new bugs. If you go with the positive one, the first one, Disclosure provides very valuable information to hackers. They can learn from the report, they can understand what has been previously found, and they can understand what has already happened, what kind of bugs, how does the organization treats the hacker, how much time it takes to patch the vulnerability, and they can get all that, and it can help them to work for the same firm, put more effort, and find new bugs. It brings the organization and the hacker closer. There's one more possibility, that disclosure can obstruct hackers' thinking. It can actually negatively impact hackers' behavior or thinking. It can affect their search process. And this is where I am finding from the data and theoretical basis from other areas like crowdsourcing, psychology, and what I'm trying to build here is that disclosure can have a negative effect on hackers' search behavior. And it can lead to fewer discoveries in the future for the same program, for the disclosing program. So my theory is based on, first argument is that hacking is a creative process. Hacking is not a very simple problem solving. It's a very creative process which needs creativity. And research in psychology, especially on cognitive fixation, says that prior examples shown to creative people can affect their cognitive capabilities. It can actually lead to cognitive fixation. Fixation is a concept that if prior examples are shown to a creative person, they will include the features of the example in their work. So fixation is real. Fixation is kind of a biasness. It's an obstacle in mind. When you have experience, when you have seen something, you are fixated on the ways or the examples you have shown. Earlier, Deokar, Smith, and many other psychologists did a lot of experiments. They asked their participants in control group, they asked them, create some animal on a planet, on animals who live on another planet. And what kind of features, shape, face, or behavior they would have. They asked their participant to create animals living on a distant planet. And in the treatment group, they show some examples of animals living on a different planet, and then asked their participant to create some new animals and their features. They found the one in the treatment group are fixated on the examples. Even when the psychologists tell them that you have to create totally something different, come up with something creative, because those examples have nothing to do with the one I need, because those animals are living in a total different environment, but unconsciously, participants were adding the features. Their creativity went down, actually, when they saw the examples. So fixation happens when our mind is just following the path we have just seen or experienced. So disclosure can cause fixation in hackers' mind. And it can lead to fewer discoveries, because they will convert, they will go for the same method, processes, techniques, search processes of earlier hackers, which is counterproductive. Why fixation happens? Fixation happens because, in general, when we are trying to solve a problem, we take a path which is the easiest to solve the problem. Psychology says that our path to solve a problem is the one which is easiest to approach based on our experience, and the easiest path may not be the optimal path. It may not lead to a best solution. So, functional fixedness is another term which talks about cognitive biasness in human mind. Functional fixedness says that we only use objects in the way we traditionally use. And for example, if you need a paperweight and someone gives you a hammer, you may not use hammer as a paperweight, because your mind will say it's for pounding nails. In this picture, I have iceberg. And one of the good examples of functional fixedness is that the iceberg which struck Titanic could be used as a float. But no one thought about it, because they didn't see iceberg as a float. It could have saved many lives if people on Titanic have used iceberg as a float until the help has arrived. So functional fixedness keeps you biased from what you have learned, what your experiences are. If someone has no experience of using hammer, and you give them a hammer, they may use it as a paperweight. They will be less functionally fixed. So experience can prime your mind. Similar phenomena, I believe, happens in bug bounty programs when they disclose. When you disclose a lot, hackers' minds are fixated on the prior examples. They go for the same processes, techniques, and the method in finding new bugs, which is counterproductive in finding new bugs in the program. So disclosure can lead to fewer discoveries in the programs, which discloses a lot on platforms like HackerOne or BugCrowd. To test these hypotheses, I collected a data from HackerOne, bug bounty program, and I collected whatever was publicly available. So I went to this platform, I scraped everything what I can see on the platform, gathered my data set. I had almost 368 firms who were on the platform, and I saw their whole history, how many bugs they closed, how many hackers they work with, how many bugs they disclose publicly, how many they hide. And then I gathered the data and created a panel data. So panel data is a way we use in econometrics to analyze effect of something, a treatment effect. So I analyzed this data. In my data, I had total 83,000 vulnerability reports, which were closed by those 300 firms. And some 8,000 reports were publicly disclosed within this data set. Some firms, like Department of Defense, does not disclose anything. But firms like GitHub disclose some of their bugs. So there are different kinds of firms. And my analysis of the data is within the firm. So I'm not comparing Department of Defense with GitHub. I'm comparing GitHub when a time when they don't disclose to a time when they start disclosing something, and how does it affect the hacker participation. So our goal is to estimate how previously disclosures affect resolutions of new bugs, and how many hackers participate in bug bounty program. So to do this, I have to have a dependent variable and an independent variable. Dependent variable is the one which I'm trying to see the effect on. And my dependent variable is resolutions in a month. So it's a firm level monthly data, like how many firm A resolved X amount of bugs in month 1, and then firm A resolved X amount of bugs in month number 2, so on and so forth. So I can see how many resolutions are done in each month, and what was the disclosure level at that time in that month or in the previous month. So my independent variable, or the critical variable I'm trying to estimate, is resolutions and disclosures. How much you have resolved previously in total, and how much you have disclosed. So I know there's a lot of symbols which is hard to understand. The basic idea is I'm trying to estimate the effect of disclosure over time in a program. And I'm trying to see not just how much you disclose, I'm trying to see how much you have resolved over time and what proportion you have disclosed. And it changes from month to month. So in the end, I have a fraction which captures this effect between 0 and 1. For example, in month number 1, firm has 0 disclosures, and they resolved 100 bugs in the first month. In the second month, they have resolved maybe 200 more bugs, so it's a total 300 bugs they fixed on the platform, and they disclose maybe 10 out of it. So I will divide 10 over 300, something like that. So it's a level of disclosure in each month while controlling other factors. Sorry. To test, I have to have a mathematical model and run some analysis. So I developed this empirical model in which I control for how many vulnerabilities have been patched in the past by the firm in each month, how much bounty they have given, how many other firms are disclosing at the same time as this firm, how many resolutions are done by other firms, and other characteristics of the firm, like what kind of firm it is, and any other hacker information I have who participated in these firms. What I found as my hypothesis was that disclosure decreases the resolution of future bugs. meaning if a firm discloses a lot, they are less likely to resolve a new bug in the next month or in the future. It also shows, my data also showed that less hackers were able to be successful. Less hackers are able to find new bugs if a firm discloses a lot or increase the disclosure level. And what I found that if a firm discloses valid disclosures, so there are two kinds of disclosure on HackerOne. You can mark a bug as a valid or invalid. A valid bug is a real security issue which company has fixed it and they want to disclose it. And sometimes it's a lot of noise. So on these platforms, there's a lot of noise. What I found in my data that noise doesn't matter to hackers. It does not create fixation, and theory supports that. Bad examples does not lead to fixation. Only the good examples lead to fixation and affects your mind. I have also found that experienced hackers are more negatively affected by disclosure. They are less likely to be successful. And I found that instead of a novice person, a new person, if you disclose a lot, experienced person would be having hard time finding a bug in your program because of disclosure. Because fixation affects more on an experienced person as compared to a novice person. As I said, if you give a hammer who has never seen a hammer before, may use it as a paperweight because it doesn't know what his hammer do. But someone who knows what this thing does, they will just use in the same way. Fixation affects experienced people more. But there's more to the story. Now, what should firms do? Should they just don't disclose? Theory tells me, psychology tells me, if organizations and disclose critical bugs, that's favorable. Psychology says that expensive examples, examples which are very creative, which are very expensive to the memory, to the mind, can lead to more creative output. What I'm seeing here is that in the first row, you see a positive effect of disclosure for critical bugs. If firms disclose critical vulnerabilities, very highly severe, that will lead to more discoveries in the future and more success for hackers. If you disclose less critical, for example, high, the amount of the positive effect goes down, and in the medium it goes negative or zero, and then it becomes almost zero. And then if there's the lowest level, like the negative 4.24, shows that the common bugs are mostly creating fixation. So organization can disclose, but they should be more focused on critical bugs if they want to attract more hackers or if they want to have more bugs finding in their program. So what is the basic idea here? Organization, if they want hackers to be successful in their program, they should be more critical about how they disclose and what they disclose. They cannot just disclose every other common bug. It will create fixation. And if they want to disclose, and if they should disclose, I think, they should disclose more severe critical bugs. That can lead to more discoveries, more findings within their program. And hackers should also be careful. Hackers should be aware of fixation. They should be aware of when they read the report, when they look at the report, they should be aware it can create fixation and they should come out of it. One strategy, what I have found through this data, is that program switching. If hackers switch between the programs a lot, it can decrease fixation. So this is my talk. Thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Hey, don't want to leave you hanging. This is a really great talk. I love the mathematical and statistical treatment of the data. It's a little outside of your model, but did you take into account any factors internally to a company about potentially prioritizing higher critical fixes, or like what kind of, like, did you treat the organization as a black box, or did any way in the research to explore what happens within the organization fixing the bugs?
I think that's a valid question. So organizations have different priorities. Yeah, they can definitely change their priorities too. So in my analysis, I'm trying to do, there's a way you can control for time invariant factors. So I'm not controlling for what is changing over time in organization, but I can easily control mathematically, which is time invariant. For example, organization industry. It does not change over time. Uber is Uber, ride sharing is ride sharing, and it will stay there. Department of Defense is Department of Defense. It will not change. So my analysis is controls for what is not changing over time. But something if changes within organization, some policy change, it is not controlled. But how big it can be, how it can affect the disclosure. We have to think about, is there any factor which can affect their disclosure level, at the same time, attraction of hackers for that organization. Like, our hackers believe there's more bugs in this, and organization also increase the disclosure, and hackers also think there are more bugs. So we have to control for those factors which affect both hackers and their internal policy. But yeah, there can be possible. I have control for time invariant factors. Thank you. Yeah.
That's really great talk. Appreciate all your analysis. One of my questions is, I love your takeaways. I wonder if your first takeaways, especially when it comes to organizations want to find more vulnerabilities, they should disclose severe vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
I wonder if you have reached out to bug bounty programs, vendors, or are they aligned with your key takeaways here?
Yeah, I've been talking to hackers. That's why I just came to this conference. I've been talking to hackers. I've been talking to program owners who run bug bounty. I have also talked to HackerOne, Bugcrowd. And hackers usually believe what I'm saying. They're saying that can be a phenomena. We have never thought about it, but there could be fixation. Because whenever we have found a bug, and it's a very small sample, but just talking to hackers, they told me whenever we have found a bug, we have went wild and found a bug in the company. Instead, we learned from many other companies and went wild in this one and found a very critical bug. Organizations do believe in generally if we disclose, that can maybe increase our participation and it can lead to more discoveries. My whole finding is that it can be counterintuitive. It can be opposite. And platforms are still not sure about how does this disclosure affect hacker success. Because I talked to Bugcrowd and HackerOne, they are saying, this is possible what you're saying, but we don't know. So they don't have the answer. And one of the reasons I think it's the data. I think public data is so critical, we don't have public data. What I did here is scrape the website of HackerOne. I got what I can find publicly, what I can find publicly on HackerOne. I got that, analyzed it. Okay? Yeah. Any other questions? We have time, 6 minutes.
Hey, is there anything you saw in the data set that I'm going to ask you to speculate a little bit? Anything you're still struggling to explain, or anomalies or weird stuff you saw that you're still chewing on?
Yeah, I think a lot of there's a lot of misunderstanding about bounty rewards. I think hackers don't really put a lot of effort who give a lot of bounty. It's opposite. This is also for hackers, their incentive is to find critical bugs. They want to make money, but easy money or the hard money. So the one which offers for one critical bug $20,000, maybe I'll go for $2,000, which is easier. So, and this shows in the data too. What I found that hackers are putting more effort and they're going after for those companies which are offering smaller, a lot of scope, but smaller bounties. like 1,000, 2,000, and they have a lot of participation. Because a company which offers 20,000, of course, it's harder to find a bug. So a huge bounty can signal hackers negatively too, which has to be tested in the data, but in general, I'm seeing this trend. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
How do you differentiate between fixation and maybe avoidance? Like if someone says, oh, well, someone already found a buffer overflow in this protocol, and it looks really smart, maybe he probably found everything, I won't bother looking at it.
Yeah, yeah. True, it can be fixation, it can be avoidance because somebody has found something and you know. My whole method is based on this. On one side, you know what is found. One side, you know this bug has been found. On the other side, the same hacker found something. Same hacker found something. I don't know. On one side, I know this same hacker found this critical bug, buffer overflow or anything, and then it got $5,000. Another company, the same hacker found a bug, and I don't know what it is, but it's also $5,000 bounty. I can see those, but I don't know what it is. And what I'm seeing, hackers will not like to work for the company who is disclosing. For the person as a hacker, maybe I will see, okay, that hacker found this bug in this company and at the same time found a similar bug, maybe a similar bug, but I don't know. I'm not sure. But I will still go for that one. I will still go for that one. So in general, if we take a sum, not one. So I have almost 6,000 hackers in my data set. It's not 1, 200, 200 sample. It's 6,000 over a period of 10 years, from 2012 to 2021. I'm analyzing the pattern of hackers. And this happens every time. Whatever site I look for, controlling for such kind of things, what type of bug has been disclosed? Same effect. Yeah, but it's possible. We cannot really say for sure unless we do a science experiment where we put few hackers, show them some examples in a control group, or don't show them, and in the treatment group, we give them some treatment and show them, and then say what happens. Yeah, that would be the final answer then. Yeah, thank you. 2 minutes. Yeah.
So a lot of the platforms will have private
Bug bounty.
right? And I think that there's way more private programs than there are. So have you ever considered trying to get at that private data through the platforms? Because you get way better quality data, right?
I think definitely private programs, according to my understanding, my estimate, on HackerOne, there are 400 or 500 public programs, but almost 2,000 private programs. So private program is a big number. And definitely,
So you'd have no data about that?
I have no data. So I have just looked at the public programs and saw their whole history. And yeah, so I haven't looked at the private programs. In my data on HackerOne, this platform, every program starts as a private. Every program starts as a private, and then they become public. So in the private program, you have fewer hackers. When you're private, it's only invite only. And with invite only, what you disclose, you can just see what invite only people can see. So in that time, I try to analyze. I didn't find any positive or negative effect because it's invite only. So we cannot really say unless we have full data of the private programs. So I can just see this program is public now, but for first 2 years it was private. And what happened at that time? Yeah, so I don't see because it's invite only. You invited the hacker already. Yeah, so it's hard to estimate in that sense. Yep. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Sure. All right. If we have no more questions, I will be here. We can talk more. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you for coming to my session. I appreciate it.